Hi, my name is Dr. Boaz Ben David. I'm a cognitive psychologist. I do not have a company. I am not a journalist, and I can't sing, even though I try. However, I am a scientist based at the IDC Herzliya. I'm also affiliated with the University of Toronto and Toronto Rehabilitation Institute. And let me start by saying a few words about my passion. So this is the picture of the first psychological lab. It's way before Freud, did all of his weird stuff that you call psychology. This is the real psychology, and it was in Leipzig. And the unique citation I'm going to take from Wundt is the following. He claimed that to understand human beings, you have to be an expert on the mind or the soul, what we may call today psychology, an expert on the body, at biology, medical. You have to be an expert about the society, and you need to know how they all interact together. Our problem is that if you look about the research we're doing today, including myself, we all became expert on one tiny thing. So I am an expert on cognition, we have expert on hearing and vision, we have expert on society, and even within that, we all became expert of the tiny, tiny details that we all care about. And as I said, it's my fault as well. What I believe we should all do, and this is one of the reasons I was happy that Yoram invited me to present here, is we need a crosstalk. The crosstalk between, in the scientific world, the crosstalk between the scientific world and the technology, the crosstalk between us and the people that will use our technology or use our science. We need to have these conversations, and I can tell you that I've tried this in the last 5 years since I moved to Israel. I even went to meet with medical doctor. That was the worst experience I've ever had with trying to convey my belief to them, but I hope you'll be an easier crowd. We will see about that. So I want to tell you, to present my story, I want to start with this story, the story about the mad scientist and the spider. If there's one thing I want you to remember from the 8 minutes I'm allotted to, this is the story. So it goes like this. The mad scientist wanted to test the following hypothesis: how well can a spider see? So as you all know, a spider has 8 eyes, and I looked it up at Wikipedia, so I hope it's right. Okay, spider had 8 eyes, and what he did for 3 months, he trained the spider to jump whenever the spider sees this. Okay, very simple. Now, of course, it wasn't simple. You all know how difficult it is to train a spider. He worked days and nights. He missed Israel versus Spain, a soccer match. He all day long, he just stayed in the lab. And finally, after 4 months, not 3, he was able to train the spider to jump whenever he sees this sign. Okay? Now, he started his study. On day 1, he anesthetized one of the 8 eyes. Did this, and the spider jumped. Good, thank you. Okay, day 2, anesthetized 2 eyes. Did this, and the spider. You can all share, your enthusiasm here. Jumped, good. Day 3, 3 eyes, 4 eyes, 5 eyes. Blah, blah, blah. On day 8, he anesthetized all of the eyes. He did this, and what happened? He didn't jump. He didn't jump. He did this again. The spider didn't jump. So he went quickly to his lab, wrote a paper, published it in Science, and the paper had the following title: A spider without eyes cannot think. Now, of course, it's ridiculous, right? A spider with eyes can think, it just can't see. But we do the same thing when we think about the elderly or about older adults. We do the same thing, exactly the same thing. We mistake difficulties in vision that start all the way at the age of 25. I'm already really there. And mistake them with cognitive difficulties. So if I were to demonstrate this to you in a different way, I would like to conduct a study with you guys, an experiment. This is the old Habanim Alabanot, so women versus men. It always works. So let's start with women in the crowd. You have 6 seconds. This is a part of a Raven matrix. Let's see if you can solve it. Please don't shout. Just raise your hands if you know what's missing. 6 seconds. What is the missing piece? Can you do it? Oh, you already know that. What about else? Yeah? Can you guess? Okay. Looks good. Okay. Boys, don't let me down. Let's see if you can do the same thing. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Any problem? What's the problem? What? Why are you laughing?
What's weird? Anything weird here? What's the problem? It's too small. Okay? Now, what happens is, this is part of my claim in my research. When we conduct cognitive tests that are supposed to be exact and accurate and to give a medical doctor, this is what we believe that your patient have, we conduct the same mistakes. We are not aware of differences in sizes. So the idea behind this is the linkage between sensory and cognitive aging. It's called the sensory degradation hypothesis. We usually believe that age leads to a decrease in cognitive performance. What we want to claim is that we have two mediating factors. Vision and hearing started in 1994, and this is a citation from one of the people that I tested in my lab in Toronto. Yes, my antennas may not be in great shape, but inside I'm sharp. The question is, do we actually tap into the potential of older adults, employees, older adults here in the crowd, myself versus my students? I'm older by 25 years, or 22 years, depends, of my students. Do I get the chance to get to my fullest potential when the sensory environment does not lead me there? I really don't have time, I believe, so I'll be very, very brief. When you think about vision, I think the best example, which will take me 5 seconds, is who ever been to a restaurant and found himself or herself with difficulties reading the menu? I think I'm done. I guess you're all super intelligent people. It's not that the moment you enter the restaurant, suddenly somebody came to you and took a chunk of your brain outside and you turned out to be stupid, right? You're still as intelligent as you were. But the sensory challenges are important. And even if you can read, and of course you can read, what goes on now is that you have to devote more resources into being able to decipher what's there on the menu, and then you may make a mistake. Similar thing goes to the apps or the technology you're selling. If the 50-year-old or the 60-year-old will have difficulty using it, then it will go to the drawer. We can talk about hearing. With this, there is too much to talk about, so just give one example. It's the dinner table. Of course, you go to the dinner table or you go to a restaurant and it's difficult to follow what's happening around, or you go to the corridor at IDC and unfortunately you have the walls made of glass, so you have a lot of reverberation. And when I conduct a conversation with my students, they can understand me. I'm completely lost. So tell them, let's wait until we're outside because I can't understand what you're talking to me. We can talk about all of these evidence. And of course, my claim is that this is directly related to cognitive decreasement. So I'm going to give you one example of a chapter I now co-authored for a Springer book about ageism. And this is some of the findings we found. So dementia is, of course, the one thing we're all afraid of, myself included. And dementia tests should be 100% bulletproof, of course. Apparently, they're not. Recent research shows that older adults with sensory loss were twice as likely to score as pre-dementia. But is this just a hearing or a vision, or maybe it's a comorbidity? So now they did this lovely, lovely test with 2 different labs, and I'm now the 3rd lab who's trying to do the same thing. They simply took people that were already screened for pre-dementia and gave them a hearing aid, or gave them the glasses they actually need, or made sure they're conducting the study in a room that is quiet. And suddenly, people that were tested for pre-dementia suddenly shift to the board of, you're all okay. Think about the cost to the hospital, the cost to the country. Think also about the person himself, who goes to the hospital and comes out with a stamp which is wrong because the environment was not the appropriate one. And if I were to finish, I'll just go to social activity. There is this amazing research now of the Rush Project in Chicago that's still ongoing, what they do. It's a bit morbid, but they have participants coming to the lab every year, and when they die, they send a message and they donate their brain afterwards. The only way to know about dementia is by dissecting the brain after the person dies. And what we see, which is unique, some of these participants had indication of tangles that should indicate dementia in their brains. However, they did not have dementia when they perform. The question is why? One of the main indicators was simply social network, being able to communicate, being able to be a part of the community, to have some relationship. Indeed, hearing difficulties, in this crazy study in Finland, I wish I had their money, they had home interviews of 850 older adults for like 2 days. They visited them in the far communities, tested them on a million things, and then 2 years later came back. And this is the one thing they found, which was crazy. Simply hearing difficulties. The difficulty in having a communication because you can't hear was the number one indicator for people not being interactive in any kind of leisure activity. Sort of zero. What do you do all day? I sit on the sofa. That's it. We can, of course, guess what are the implications of this, and one of them is this. And I was now in a conference about psychological science conference in Europe, and there are like 2 sessions only about activity, physical activity, and how it relates to brain and neurogeneration, as we age. And this is the first study that I believed, actually, where we show an increase in volume of amygdala simply by walking 3 times a week, and we see more and more and more evidence. However, if you can't hear, and you are depressed, and nobody's taking care of your hearing, or if the roads are broken and it's not convenient to walk, or if the roads are not lit enough, or there is no shade, etc., so you don't go out of the home and walk, you have all of this loop again that relates again and again and again back to communication, as my colleagues would now discuss. And I will finish with a little bit from my research that relates directly to Dr. Levanon's research. So when I test speech perception, one of my questions is, how do we interact the prosody, the tone of voice, I'm happy, or I'm sad, with the content of the words, how people do it. So the basic idea is this. If you hear, I feel wonderful today, it could be this. Now it doesn't work, eh? I will have to act it out. Let's see if it plays. Okay, never mind. So I'll just act it out. Let's see if my drama teacher from high school will be happy with me. I feel wonderful today. Wasn't bad, eh? Okay? When you hear this, you're saying, well, the person is happy. However, what happens when you hear this? I feel wonderful today. So what we find is that young adults, 20-year-olds, have no difficulty of saying, I don't care about the words, I only care about the prosody. You can have sentences, I won the lottery, I'm so happy. As long as the prosody is angry, all students say the person is angry. What we found is that with older adults, it's a completely different story. So the same sentence spoken to an older adult was interpreted differently than it was spoken to a younger adult. Why is this happening? How we can adapt it to communication is one of the questions we have today. But the conclusion again is this. Focusing on communication seems to me, at least, based on my experience, the easiest and the clearest way to help people reintegrate in society and to get our potential as we age to its maximum. And I believe that some of the talks we'll hear today will relate directly to this. And with this, I thank you for your attention.
So I'm going to talk about improving wellness and preventing diseases just according to the vocal understanding the voice, understanding the intonation. It's very interesting because when we are hearing about voice, hearing or talking, it's the same, it's only the other side that we have to explore. I'm exploring our thinking and getting ideas about our hearing. So what we can say that to say it, I'm just jumping to another conclusion. Emotions are the main reason of our well-being. Emotions are connected, the high correlation between emotions, and today there was a published research that found that there is no there is a random reason for cancer. It was written in the newspaper. You can find it's bullshit, because all the elements that these researchers are checking, nothing about emotional. About you can find about genetical, you can find about environmental, but they say it's random because they did not check the most important thing. If we are in trauma, that's the beginning of a disease. And that's the way that we have to think about. So the idea is, if it's so, how we can understand what emotions this man or this woman are delivering. And I'm saying that the most important thing, or one of the most important things, in addition to the body movement, is body language, is our intonation. And what we have tried to find, if the intonation really tells the story. If it tells a story, and what we have found, that intonation tells two stories. The first is monitor emotions, means that I'm in that means I am in love. It's not important what language I am speaking. I can say I love you, אני אוהב אותך, בוא אני in Chinese, je t'aime. It's the same music, by the way, in fa, tone fa. And Mozart used the fa and the sol. Sol is very friendly. And if I'm saying this way, it's C. And you see, I am commanding in all the languages. So the tones are telling the emotions. By the way, if I'm saying I love, it's fa. And when I say I hate, it's fa also. Love and hate are coming from the same origin. However, when I'm saying I love, I am pulling. When I'm saying I hate, I am pushing. I admire, I am pulling. Disgusting, I am pushing. That's the way to understand intonation, and even babies understand it. It's universal. That's what we found. However, we found that there are let's say something that are not according to this rule. And as a physicist, I am believing in nature rules. So I've tried to find what the nature rule that I ignore. And at the beginning, we found that there is, if there is a distortion in the voice, let's just, I'll go here. No, okay, I'll say it. A distortion in the voice, there is a problem, health problem. The first health problem that we have found was dyslexic. Dyslexic, people can't express two sorts of tones exactly with high intensity, and that's mean that we can find biomarker for this. Biomarker only because of the distortion of voice. This is the second thing. So we can, in our voice, we can understand, define, or indicate what are the problem, health problem, and what are the emotional problem altogether. The emotional problem, what we have found, there are composite of moods. When I'm talking about 10, 12 seconds, I can say it's one emotion. There are few emotions that I am delivering. And the combination, the composite emotion, the composite moods are 432. It's very difficult to explain it, but that's the way. And we found that we are accurate according to the responders, according to a team of psychologists, about 75%. In most of the languages, it's even in the United States is above 80%, in the China it's about 70%, in India less, in Israel it's 80%, so we are in a good shape with that. And that's today we are working over in 174 countries. you can download free our app that can you can check what it says to you, and you can get your conclusion about it. So, for example, the basic emotions are on the screen. You can see there are many 21 categories. So just now I'm going to the wellness. As I said, the wellness is built on two sides. One is the health, the second is the emotions. And what we can say, the emotional wellness, how you feel, stress, loneliness are infecting the health. Social wellness, if I am in a conflict with somebody, it will of course, influence. And physical wellness, if I'm doing a specific physical activity, if it's strengthen my side or the other side. So what we can do about the information of the well-being or the wellness according to the voice, according to the emotions over time, and according to the biomarker of health, we can do all of these things that you can see. You can do more, just as examples. For example, we can check the distraction, focus, track your happiness, track your loneliness, find when you are happy or when you... We are calling it fulfilling home, but the name fulfilling home is mistake. Feeling, it's F-E-E. We took the correct word and changed the way that we spell it. That means fulfilling home. Home full of feeling. It's a version of smart home. And we are believing that we can deliver the fulfilling home to the world according to these things. And these are only examples of what we can do. We can, for example, if we are talking about emotions, we can see the scores of anxiety, depression, satisfaction. We can monitor them and see the changes, and we can graph all the changes and get a conclusion what the state of this person. So if we want to monitor them, you can do. This is an example. Somebody of my employees falls from the stairs. So what does the boss? Run after him and record him. Very not with a... But there is an idea. You can see the graph after this is frequency here, intensity there, the Y, and you can see the changes after the fall, before the fall, and after recovery, it comes in the same status of it was at the beginning. So yes, the voices changes. Does change. What we can do about the health trend, we have a lot of problems. People, another lecture talk about it. Healthcare costs are exploding. Our age going old and old, and there are a lot of problems. One problem that the other lectures did not mention, that the information, the medical information is doubled every 73 days. Means in 2 years, 730 days, it will double by 1,024. And in 4 years, by million. There is not doctor in the world that can follow this tempo. Means that we have to use the AI, but now the AI not only knows the information to what to say, but he also can measure the biomarker and the emotions. So this is the emotional AI that we believe will be in the future. This just, for example, all the studies that we have done. You can see dyslexia. That's what I've said about. Parkinson, autism. The person that talk about autism, is it here? Yes. So one of the results that we have is that the autistic children, we did it with Weizmann Institute, have a shift of the spectrum. That means when I recognize love, they recognize different emotions. But by the facial expression, they measure correctly. Means they have a conflict between the two sensors. And that was published. Nobody is implemented this, but this is one of the results. So we can talk about Parkinson. We are doing that, a psychiatric disorder. For example, we are working with NIH and Scripps in the States in order to monitor doctors in the stage. The problem with medical doctor in the stage, they are willing, 20% of them, to make suicide. 20%. And it means they are not making this, but this trend is pushing them to give a very bad treatment. That's a problem. Another problem, that the coronary heart disease, we just finished about 3 months ago, the work with Mayo Clinic, and they said, yes, you are correct with your patent. I've decided years ago, 22 years I'm working on that, to write patents, not articles. Sorry for the academic, but I believe in patents more than articles. So the idea was here, and we found a biomarker that can tell by when you are talking only 1 minute and a half, can tell if this man, by high accuracy, is suffering for severe CAD, a cardio problem, or not. That was another result, and today, as I began, we can talk not only about wellness, but also about preventative medicine. It means that we know before it happens, or if somebody is at risk, we can put him in, monitor his voice in this fulfilling home, and feel when he is in disaster or going to disaster, according to the emotions or according to the early signs of biomarkers. That's our story. So if there are questions, if not, I want to present Michal Naveh. She is an entrepreneur of something you have to see, but she is not only musician, she is, and not only artist, she is entrepreneur, and she developed a story of science language, and she developed, I'm calling it, not only sign language, but also the intonation of sign language. The intonation of sign language is something that was not developed before. So Michal, please.
So nice to be here. Thank you, Yoram, and thank you. Today I'm going to talk about multidimensional communication, but the most important thing is that we're going to experience it. Can we take this away, please? Thank you. So, music has been the world to me. At the age of 17, I've been a young singer. I was preparing for my big recital, focusing all my energy on words and lyrics. Back then, I didn't know I'm using only small percentage of my full communication potential. And then, 1 year before the army, I decided to volunteer for a year of community service in a youth dormitory. The reason was sign language. When I saw people signing with each other, I felt that I've experienced a deep sensation of belonging, as if sign language has chosen me. It added another layer to my communication skills. the part that was missing. Back then, I was just broadcasting, just speaking out, and didn't listen. Without listening, and my new sign language skills of communication, with them I could realize my full communication potential. After only 4 months, I knew that this is what I want to do when I grow up. My journey has begun. 20 years passed since then, and I am ready for my next level. At the last decade, I understood that my mission is wider than me being sign language interpreter in academy, and even larger than combining sign language and music, and even larger and wider than my master's degree in communication. But it combines them all. I discovered a new way to explore communication layers of active listening to our human perception, and creates it creates a strong bonding within us and the people that we meet. I want to give you today the gift of multidimensional communication. Are you ready? Yes. Good. So what kind of communications do you know? Speech, text, gestures, tone, body language. Roaming? Thumbs up? Facebook.
Oh yeah, social networks.
Social networks. Okay, so we've got the whole world in our hand, right? But and it's really easy to run like this whole life, but we are losing our presence when we do only that. So my present to you today is to show you how present you could be when you combine all sorts of multi-dimensional communication. So ready? You said you're ready? And you said, good. So now we're going to build all the dimensions. I'm going to show it 7 times with Walking to Caesarea. So it's a song. Let's start with the first dimension, the visual one. Okay? It's all that we see. So look. What did you see? Sign language and praying. Okay, let's move on to the next dimension. The auditorial part. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. What did you hear? Combining voice and movement, right. Okay. Now watch what's running in your head while I'm presenting you the mental part. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. What went through in your mind? Don't be shy. Fear. Hit me. What is she doing? What is she want? That I'm present? Okay, good. Thank you. Next level. Emotional. Okay. So try to feel and to guess who am I referring to. Okay? My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, a lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. Who did I refer to?
To a king?
Wow, thank you.
To a king, not that you
To a king. Yeah, understood. To a child. Okay.
No, they are ruling us.
Yeah. So basically, you're right. She said that they are basically ruling us. So now. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the lightning in the sky, the sound of the water, a prayer of a man. So what did you feel now? Like a rabbi or a preacher. Assertiveness. Good, Shakespeare, great. Drama. Okay. Next one. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, a lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. Oh. To the Lord. Sadness? Yeah, you're right. Okay, so now. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, a lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. Loving love? Prayer? Okay. It's close. Full of hope. Okay, so now. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man.
Love/lust.
Good. So basically, if it was in Hebrew, I'll show it that you were right. If it was in Hebrew, so I could have do it. Eli, Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם. Thank you. So basically, you felt what? Yeah, it can work really good. You felt it, right? Okay. So, you felt I didn't do much. I just put my intention, and you just felt. So we are moving to the physical part. Will come. Okay. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, lightning in the sky, prayer of a man. Drama queen, inspiration. Good. Okay. It's the physical part. I just joined my body. I didn't stand. I was moving. So it's another dimension. And now the kinesthetic part. My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, the sound of the water, a lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. Thank you. So some of us need the kinesthetic feeling with people. I always love the touch, to give the person the sense of me, to feel the sense of him. So it's another dimension. Not all of them are fits everybody. Like, it's cultural, right? And you need to find the things that works for you. But if you combine more and more, you can be more present, and you can get a lot of information from the people that you're speaking with. And the last one, it's a spiritual level. You cannot really explain it. You need to sense it. I have my being. I'll do it for you, and just tell me what my being is, okay? My Lord, may it never end. The sand and the sea, sound of the water, a lightning in the sky, a prayer of a man. Thank you. What is my being? Tranquility. Thank you.
One thing, the translation prayer of a man,
Mhm.
it's not so accurate, you know. It's
actually of a
prayer
woman,
of
by the way.
human.
Mm.
Because
It's actually by a woman, not a man.
Yeah. I took it.
human.
No, but this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
written by a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Eli
It's written by a woman.
But she said it universally, as I said.
Tfilat
in
ha'adam.
Hebrew.
Okay.
You know Hebrew well.
I took it from Wikipedia somewhere. But I will adopt that. Thank you.
It's actually because you translated it, it
Mhm.
takes the feminine and masculine, and that actually hurts the song, the meaning of the song, because you made it above gender, but it is a prayer of a woman, so
Mm-hmm.
No, she meant universal.
Yeah, she meant that I agree with you. And now you help me with my decision, because finally we're gonna combine everything together, and we're going to do it in Hebrew. So even if you don't understand, you can connect. So the most important part is listening inside, okay? And sense what of these layers, these dimensions fits you. Okay, and then you can like see when the other person is communicating. See, only auditorial, only visual. Like you can really see the process. So identify the fruitful combination for you, and finally, let's add the last part. Let's sing it together. Okay, I hope you get the words. I'll show you, and we'll do it in Hebrew. Okay. So, Eli, Eli, this is the part that you join me, okay?
do it with music or without music?
We're gonna sing, don't worry. I'm just teaching it you, and then you can feel it, because you really need to feel it, to sense it, okay? Eli, Eli, shelo, yigamer, leolam. You cannot do it like this. Sorry. Eli, Eli, shelo, yigamer, leolam. החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם. I'm going to say one word before we're going to sing it. I'm usually doing it with first grade students, and they don't know that in our culture, it's related to the most sadness days in the year, Memorial Day, and they just feel the song. They don't relate it to sad occasions. So now we're gonna sing it. Ready? Good. Okay. Are you good? Eli, Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם. Thank you. I believe that if you communicate with multidimensional communication, you can create your own reality. You can be out. You can be really related to your inside. You can influence and show your being to the world. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Not sure I can top that. Thank you. Yoram invited me to talk a little bit about the digital division, which I work at the IPBC, Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation. It's a new organization. For those of you who doesn't know, I'll talk just briefly about it. Israel had public broadcasting for ages, public radio, Kol Israel, since it was established in 1948, and television since the late 60s. There was two problems with the old broadcasting service. One was it had a lot of not unemployed people, but yeah. No, political issues and involvement in it, and corruption. And the other problem was that it wasn't relevant, mainly in the television. Channel 11 or Channel 1 had declining ratings over the years, and the government decided to close it with a new law and open a new broadcast corporation, which I'm part of. We've been around for 1 year. If you're following the news in Israel, it's a very political, it's a big tension about it. So I'm not going to touch that, but I'm going to talk a little bit about our vision. So the new broadcasting corporations, once we will be completely in air, would have several divisions. The first division, which I'm going to talk last about, is my division, is the digital division. Then there is the radio division, which is going to be pretty similar to what there is today with Kol Israel, but they're also going to have podcasts. So they're going to do web broadcasting of content and music radio stations based on the internet. Then we have the television division. It's going to have 3 channels: kids channel, channels for the Arab community, and another main channel which doesn't have a name and not even a channel in the a number yet. And then there is a news division. That's the most contested division right now. It's going to broadcast in radio, in television, and on digital platforms. And there is the digital division. Now, the organization Hatagid, literally in Hebrew, the corporation, which is also branded as Kan, literally means here, decided to adopt a strategy that's called digital first. We want to be a digital corporation that is relevant not just for this year or next year or the next 10 years. We want to be relevant in 100 years or at least the next 50 years. And to do that, we understand that the future is digital content. So that's why we started with it. So right now we're broadcasting on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're creating content that is not just a copy-paste from what we're going to do on television or radio. We're creating it specifically for those platforms in matters of the type of content that we serve, the length of videos and podcasts, which are usually shorter than regular radio shows. And we're trying to prove that there is a place in Israel in 2017 for public broadcasting, and we're emphasizing it on crowds or communities, other parts of the Israeli society that doesn't have a full representation in the media today, and other things that commercial media organizations doesn't have the right incentives to create because they don't sell enough ads. So we're doing a lot of content for and about the Arab community in Israel, Haredi or ultra-Orthodox community in Israel, Druze, and other parts of Israel's society. You can see it on our Facebook page. So this is what we're doing right now. We're going to keep that strategy in the radio and television, hopefully when they'll be available. But we're also thinking about the next level, personalization. Yoram talks a little bit about it, where the vision is, I mean, we're not a technology organization, we're a content organization, but we're also trying to work with what is happening in Israel and around the world, and maybe later on develop some of our own technology to make sure that we're creating content that is relevant for people and that is relevant for the right people. Because, and I'll give an example. All the broadcaster is being closed partly because it's not relevant. And right now, my organization, the new organization, is broadcasting to 25 to 35-year-olds, young adults, Y generation, Z generation, thinking about new audiences. But we also want to we want to cater for everyone. So we're going to keep the Kol HaMuzika, which is the music station in linear broadcasting, which obviously people 25 to 35 would listen to, because even if they like classical music, they would probably find it online. So that's why we also have, for younger audiences who love classical music, we have an internet station that is going to broadcast, is already now broadcasting over the internet. So we're really trying to fit audiences on the one hand, and then content specifically. Just as I said about like classical music, senior citizens can like classic music. Younger audience can like classical music, but we find them on different platforms. So the next level, which we're thinking about, obviously, the technology isn't there yet, is with big data and maybe artificial intelligence and other data that we can gather and aggregate about our customers, which is the public, to try and find the right content for them. In recommendations that we can do, because once we're not on television or radio and we're on the digital platforms, we can really serve whatever we want to whomever wants it. So that's the next level. And then later on, maybe even creating content specific by demand. Audio or video on demand, meaning on demand from the customer side, and not that he can choose whatever he wants to do to watch whenever we feel like, but that we can cater and create whatever content the public wants. Obviously, we're not there yet, and the technology isn't supporting that effort just yet. But this is some of the things that we're thinking about, because, as I said at the beginning, we want to be relevant 50 and maybe even 100 years from now. And if you want to do that, you need to cater, you need to personalize your content, you need to make sure that the people on the other hand are happy and satisfied with what you're delivering. But we also don't forget where we're coming from. At the base, I'm a journalist, and just like any other journalist, or even someone who creates leisure content, we're storytellers. So we want to make sure that during all that process of personalization and technology and digital, we're not losing the way to create a good story. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Two layers of questions. First of all, what about Israel broadcasting by AVIOS? First of all, to the communities, the Jewish communities abroad.
Right.
And as I know, Kol Israel in Arabic, which was on wireless, it's considered, because now they stopped, considered one of the reliable and most influential station in the Arab world. What about this?
Right. So I'll tap into your second questions first. We're still going to have Kol Israel Be'aravit. It's going to have a new name. Not sure I'm ready to pronounce it here. I'm not sure about the technology.
Every guy in Saudi Arabia with a transistor can listen
Right.
to us.
Right. No. I think the channels, the broadcasting channels for linear broadcasting will stay the same as far as I'm aware. But this has to do with regulation, and that's not our job. That's whether you like it or not, the government decides who's gonna use which channel. But what is nice about the digital world is that you don't need approval from the government to broadcast.
So this is all about this, and my 1 minute, 30 seconds question to all of you is 10 years from now, what do you think will be the biggest challenge that you will face in your careers, in your science? What do you think will be the biggest challenge? Maybe I'll start with you. What do you, your 2 sentence, what's the biggest challenge in 10 years from now?
Looking at journalism today, as a journalist, I think the concept of truth is in challenge, And I think 10 years from now, when there's going to be a lot of websites, there's not going to be one source that people take information from. Not even maybe today, even people take from Facebook. So if Facebook decides to opt out a content delivery network, it's not going to be on your Facebook feed, but who knows what's going to be 10 years from now. And I think there's a big challenge in making sure that people know that the content they're getting in matters of news and accuracy is correct and factually true. And I think that that's a challenge we're starting to see now, and it's going to only get worse or more challenging in the following years.
Thank you. He's a realist, trust me.
I think that the biggest challenge will be that people will forget the importance of one-on-one communication. It's really easy to run and hide and communicate with our devices. And we see from today that children lose their facial expressions. It's really sad. So my mission is to remind that to people, to remind the importance of the eye contact, the importance of being with other people. Like, I love technology, but it really fills in. It's not the main thing. And by being members in communities in real life, we can grow much more. Thank you.
For me, my belief is the communication is the key for the quality of well-being. And as we are going to live more and more, maybe we don't understand that girls, students here in the age HV, for example, will live, and the average will be 115 for their age, means they are going to live more and more in this. The only question is how they will live. What is the quality of well-being? And therefore, the communication is the key for the better quality of well-being. That's my belief.
So, if I were to add my 5 cents after you stole my aging idea, the other problem that I see now, I see it more and more in science, and when I chat with students, it comes up more and more. It's a challenge of what's happening right now. Our ability to communicate in a second language, ability to communicate across cultures, the difficulty expressed by one of the speakers here when he had to communicate with Chinese, using English, gapping the culture bridges. I think that as we advance, aging and cross-culture discussion is going to present a larger challenge, even if we just focus on health issues. The fact that your doctor might not be a native speaker of the language of the country, you may not be a native speaker, there may be a cultural gap when you want to express that it hurts you, or that you want more of this medication and not the other one. How are you willing to express yourself? Can you communicate? Of course, add to that aging, add to that how you get your information, specifically about medical, and how you express your emotions. And with this, I think we summarized everything we talked about today. So let me thank the panelists, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.